Hi, I'm Barra, and welcome to the latest edition of the Iron Hour podcast. We've exclusively been on the Iron Army YouTube page. This week we're trying something a little bit different. As you can see, we're in this fantastic studio here at our new sponsors, No Film. So we're very pleased to be on board now with No Film, and we're hoping to get this out on iTunes and Spotify. So if you're listening on those platforms, great. And if you're not, we will be there for next week, won't we, Gareth?
Yes, we will. Yes.
So I'm Barra. I'm joined by my panel as always. We've got Max Bell to my right, published author, sports journalist. Any other titles you want to add in there, Max?
Not before the watershed.
To my left, we've got the guy that you probably all know as Iron Army. It's Gareth Holden. As I said last week, you know, he's infamous, isn't he, with match day experience at Scunthorpe United. He does his vlogs. How are you feeling, Gareth?
Okay, I'm feeling good. Nice setup we've got.
It's incredible. Yeah.
I'm feeling good.
And on the end of the table there, in the corner where he belongs, is Marco. Well, what are you? I think you're our showpiece, aren't you, Marco?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just here for show.
Yeah. The eye candy.
Yeah, literally eye candy. Someone silly enough to watch this every week.
So I think we have to start where we always start, really, which is with a football. Obviously, there's lots of topics to discuss this week. We'll do our usual segments, and of course, we'll get through to the statement from the chairman probably towards the end. And then we do actually have quite a big announcement. It's not just the studio. At the end of the podcast, we will be revealing some I think quite big news. Gareth, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say massive news.
Massive.
You're downplaying it by saying big.
Yeah. So, yeah, the game then. Two games to review, in fact. The first one, obviously, York on Tuesday. I think all four of us were there, were we, at that one?
Yeah.
And Marco, even though he chucked me under the bus last week by...
Still here?
Yeah, amazingly, I managed to get to the game.
Yeah.
I did chuck the excuse in late.
Yeah.
I've given it the old... and I literally mean 6 o'clock on Tuesday. I've got my phone out and gone... I've just had a text here off Marco. A gift from heaven. He's got me a ticket. What are the chances? So luckily she doesn't listen to the podcast.
I
think she's sick of the sound.
Yeah, I won't tell her what you tell me on the phone that you've been sulking all day just so you can come.
So she can join the long list of people I also know who don't listen to. So York game, what did we think then? It was a must win, wasn't it, Marco?
It was an absolute must win, and to be fair, I know we're going to talk about Torquay later, but out of the two, we did show up. I mean, that first half, other than their keeper, I mean, he turned into Manuel Neuer. It was unbelievable, that first half. Like, it got to the point where you would sort of, after the third or fourth save, you were like, it's just not going to be our night. Yeah. It was quite hard to criticise the lads, because another day, we win that 3-0, and we come out there, and I do think momentum, we probably would have gone and beat Torquay if we'd have won that, and the belief would have been there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we just came up against a very good goalkeeper, and
by all accounts, he was their reserve keeper. Somebody told me.
Awesome, yeah. But Whitley. Yeah, it was great. I mean, you compare and contrast the two goalkeepers. I mean, I've done really well to wait this long, but Bilson, to be fair, he played quite well. But I mean,
he did make some good saves.
Everybody was just asking, what on earth is going on? 20 minutes left in the game. It's time wasting. It looked like it was time wasting. And the thing is, I feel for Bilson a bit, because you don't just do that if you're on a card.
Exactly.
He's obviously been told to do that, protect midpoint, or to not go for a win, and it was just mind-boggling. And I wonder what you guys think, but I was.
Gareth, what did you think of the tactics employed by Bilson, obviously in goal? I thought, as Marco says,
it was frustrating. Yeah. Everyone's booing him, telling him to be quicker. I know he's down the far end of the pitch, but it was just the frustration. And he's just taking his time, and he's getting slower, and you're thinking, we need a goal, get the ball launched. Just launch. I know his kicking's not great.
I think that's quite kind, actually.
That's another story. But yeah, just get it booted.
I'll tell you the ironic thing about Bilson's kicking is I thought it was notably improved on Saturday. In fact, his best kick unbelievably led to their goal. He cleared it right down the pitch, didn't he?
Yeah, but it was such a low bar, his kicking on Saturday. Over the course of the 90 minutes against York, that is the worst kicking I've ever seen from any Scunthorpe goalkeeper. It wasn't just 2 or 3 run ones, it was all of them. And then, actually, when he started throwing the ball, his distribution with his arm was great.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just so frustrating. And I think on Marco's point on the time wasting as well, it's not the first time this season. Gareth and I both went to Maidstone, and it was exactly the same. Everybody built that game up saying it's must win, it's must win. It's 1-1 with 15-20 minutes to go. Throw the kitchen sink at it, and it just limped.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, we've been broadcasting for 5 minutes, and a bit like it took Marco at least 3 minutes to mention Bilson. I'm quite impressed that nobody's yet mentioned the fact that Bennett can't hit a barn door with a banjo. That miss against York. It was just a head in hands moment. You're just there going. Again, it's not his first miss like that this season.
I think it was a sitter though.
No, it wasn't a sitter.
I think he needed to be on target.
He needed to get on target.
Yeah.
I think he's blazed it over the bar. When you want him to be getting it on target, making the keeper work. There was no one else up there with him, in fairness.
No. And he wasn't under pressure from defenders.
No.
And again, we were at Solihull, a 2-1 when he's lashed that effort over the bar. That's two massive misses that have cost us a combined total of 3 points. Now, I think we'll go down by more than 3 points.
Yeah.
But a bit of hope would be nice, Ian. Shouldn't be too much to ask for.
And I think that game, in isolation, and I must caveat that with in isolation, it was a relatively decent performance. It was a relatively decent point if that happens at the start of the season, if that happens halfway through the season. But just the position we're in, and just coming back to that, you could maybe understand, I guess, Bilson's tactics if this was January. But it isn't January, is it? It's late March, it's early April now. And the reality of the situation is we've taken 1 point from 3 games, which is Notts County, York, and of course Torquay. We really needed to take 6. And if we'd have beaten York, if we'd have finished the job off against York, and then, as Marco says, maybe then had enough to get past Torquay. I know they're big ifs, but suddenly we're giddy.
Yeah. It's the goal difference as well over those 3 games. We've not scored. No. We've needed goals, and the goal difference, obviously, Notts County, you're expecting to concede, they're up there for a reason, score 4 goals, and the other 2 games, you're looking to claw some of those goals back.
And actually, as well, over the course of that, that's a combined 270 minutes. It's 6 hours of football.
Yeah.
And I think we played okay/reasonably well in one half.
Yeah.
The first half at York was all right. The other 5 halves of football were, they were what we've produced all season, and it's why we're going to finish 23rd, and we're going to go down, and we're going to be going to Banbury and Gloucester next season.
Indeed.
And
then so we're going to have to move on then to the Torquay game. Gareth, I'll come to you first. Obviously, all 3 of you guys were there, weren't you? Well, I think, did you watch it?
I was stupid enough to buy it.
Yeah. So, what was the performance like on Saturday, Gareth?
Lacklustre. You could tell it was 2 poor teams. A lot of pressure for either team to get a result. They both needed the 3 points, but it was just a poor. There was no quality. I said it a few times in the vlog. There was no quality on show. Even their goal, it's come from a mistake for me. And like you say, Bilson's booted it, best kick of the game. They've won the header, it's bounced. Smith's.
They're coming for you. The sirens outside there.
Bilson's kicks just.
It was just poor quality.
Yeah. I think for me, it was a very similar game to the Halifax game earlier on the season, where it's 2 really poor teams, and it was just going to be one little moment of quality that won it.
But actually, I agree with that. I think it was similar to the Halifax games, but I think it was flipped. In that against Torquay, I didn't see any signs that the players actually understood the magnitude of the occasion. We've all seen plenty of performances from Scunny sides where you look at them and go, look, there's not a huge amount of quality on offer, but they're giving it their all, they're giving it their best. They know they've got to win. There's real zip and there's real fight. Yeah. Halifax is a perfect example.
We've seen it recently. Dagenham. Recently, we have seen that great and passion which you thought we were going to get with Jimmy. And on Saturday, we didn't get our first gear. It was awful.
No, absolutely. And you think of, the relative comparative quality. We were discussing off air that starting 11 against Halifax on paper is the worst that we've ever seen. The most inexperienced, no striker, kids everywhere. And whereas actually they had at least, they played like their lives depended on it. Yeah. And unfortunately we were in a situation where Well, I mean, realistically, our season's over now.
I'm really sorry. I'm trying to hold it together. Max always comes out with these horrendous innuendos.
Kids, don't broadcast with idiots. That's my advice.
So yeah, with the Torquay game, we can't. I don't think we can brush over the Jimmy Dean rant on Humberside after.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, concerning, but amazing. I mean, we talked on the last podcast. Like we've said, Jimmy Dean's sort of one of us. He wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
But I mean, he just
went on him,
for it. He went for it. And I mean, that is a man who is frustrated and has seen exactly what we've seen.
I tell you one comment that really stood out to me, Max, from that interview, and I don't know if he was alluding specifically to Bennett. I might be running away
put
myself.
Two and two together, yeah.
But he said, doesn't he? He won't have players smiling or laughing in the dressing room after a defeat. And obviously there was rumours, wasn't there, about Bennett acting quite jovial after the York game. I know that was a draw, but same logic. Don't know what your take on that, Max.
Yeah, I'm always reluctant to put 2 and 2 together and potentially risk making 5. I mean, for me, it was the interview of a man who realistically is now thinking, right, we're down.
Well, yes.
We haven't got
down.
Well, exactly, and going therefore don't really have anything to lose by putting the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of getting at the players, upsetting a couple, seeing who responds positively to that kind of motivation, because we know that there's going to be a massive, humongous rebuilding job on and off the pitch for next season.
Well, on that note, in terms of how, assuming we are down, that I think that is a given, how do you then handle the last 5 games? Gareth, I don't know what your take on it is, but I think we were talking before the podcast about maybe trying some of the younger players.
Yeah, well, I'd just get rid of the loan players. I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But get the players in that are going to be about next season.
Yeah.
Why not? Get Foster back in goal. I don't know who's under contract actually for next season.
Yeah, and
or who wants to stay.
I think these are questions that hopefully we'll get at some point. Get the answers to. But I think the likes of Finn Trimpton and Tom Pugh, you kind of want to see them start, don't you?
Yeah, because Jimmy Dean's praised him, aren't you? Saying they'll run through brick walls, blah blah, and then we get more midfielders in. And I know they've had a bit of an injury, a knock and what have you, but why? They're Scunthorpe United. They are Scunthorpe United.
And I think Foster was a really good example actually in terms of we've got Bilson in on loan as well. I think his performances haven't been that great. He's very
shot-stopper.
Go on, Andy, say it.
Say the line.
Okay. So the line is, he's a goalkeeper, he needs to be a good shot. It's a prerequisite, isn't it?
Right.
However, I actually do think Bilson has played particularly well, kicking aside. I know that's a massive asterisk to put on it, but I do think...
He's not going to be here next season.
No,
I don't think so.
I'm not disputing with the approach to start Foster. I think you have to at this point, but I necessarily don't disagree with bringing Bilson in 3 games ago when there was a chance of survival.
That's fair.
We have to do something.
The situation we find ourselves in going into Friday's game is very different from the situation we found ourselves going into the Notts County game.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
We've taken 1 point from 3 games.
Yeah,
it's gone.
I just think they need to play as well. Go into the Friday game. There's no pressure. Enjoy it. Play football. We're not looking to keep a clean sheet, keep a point. Just go out and enjoy the game.
And so the 2 fixtures coming up then, we've got Good Friday, we're away at Gateshead. I've got my ticket. I don't know I don't know what world I watched that on Saturday and go, do you know what's a good decision to make?
Fancy a bit more of that.
What, you want to know the story of me taking the Gateshead ticket?
No, I'm amazed you think I fancy more of that what was on display. I'm amazed you managed to get a ticket.
Well, again, the reality is I've had to take the family on holiday just to I booked a weekend away at Barnard Castle I think there's a game on actually.
Hey, if you're going up to Barnard Castle, I want to make sure your eyesight's on point. You got to be careful
very
nowadays.
Topical, very good. So going into the Gateshead game then, what does Jimmy Dean need to do to get a win, Max?
I think it's going to be a difficult game. You consider Gateshead they've strung a little run of form together. As we record, they've got, I believe, 4 games in hand on us.
Yeah.
What I want to see, without sounding a bit like all Brexit 4-4-2, is I would actually quite like to see 4-4-2 at some point when we're chasing games and we're needing goals. There's been too many games this season where I don't think we've physically engaged with the opposition enough. Yeah. Even against Notts County, and look, Notts County were a really good side, they moved the ball really nicely, we weren't even trying to upset them, we weren't even trying to bridge the gap with whatever means we had at our disposal, fair or foul. I'd like to see a few changes. I completely agree with Gareth. I'd like to see Foster, I'd like to see Shrinton, I'd like to see Pugh. And heaven forbid, but if it's 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, I want to see us go and try and win the game.
I want to see Danny Elliott.
I was just about to ask you this, Gareth.
You know what I mean?
You've stole my thunder.
No, why is he not starting? We've actually paid money for him.
Yeah. And he will be here next season,
Yeah,
presumably.
he will be, yeah. Was it a 2.5 year deal?
Yes. I mean, I think, were we having a conversation before the York game about, he was touted by some National League team, so if they come in with the money that we paid for him, will he be here next season? Question.
Yeah. Would he? I don't know. Would he want to be? For me, I don't think he would want to be, because he's just a bit part player right now. Yeah. It's like we don't have any belief in him.
And even when
been scoring goals for games.
But he has. I think at this point he has to get a run of games in.
Yeah.
And through the middle as well,
Yes.
there's been more than one occasion when we've brought him off the bench and we've shunted him out wide.
Yeah.
Square pegs round holes. And look, I'm not saying that starting Danny Elliott would have changed our season or even necessarily changed some of those results, but with Bennett's finishing, he couldn't have done any harm, could
it?
The one thing I like about Bennett, he does flick the ball on.
Yes.
We have no one running off him.
Yes. That's what you need, Danny Elliott.
Yeah.
This is what I mean when Max says we too. Yeah. You'd be hoping it'd be Elliott and if we've got to play Bennett.
You big man, little man.
Yeah, literally. But do we have anyone else? Carver's still injured. Could you play Wilson up there maybe?
But now you get into the realms of talking about, do you put Cam Wilson up top like he did, with
Halifax? Yeah, that was just needs must. I think Wilson's position is definitely best out wide.
I think so.
But for the rest of us, it's like you said, unless we are going full Brexit and throwing all the loans back, or if we do keep Bennett, I would like to see Bennett and Elliott through the middle, 4-4-2, nothing to lose.
No.
I think we can't talk about this division without talking about the fact that Wrexham have now hit that magic number. They've now achieved, haven't they, 100 points and six games to go, Gareth. 6 games yet to play.
I'm just thinking how many points we have. Actually want to cry.
Yeah, 31.
And Notts County have now got 97.
Correct.
With 5 games to
Correct.
go. Yeah. So, let's say hypothetically that they win 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
That's Notts County could hyper realistically finish second on 108, 109 points. I mean, that's just disgusting. That's just crazy.
Did your mother get you a thesaurus for your birthday? I haven't heard that word before. What was it? Hyper?
Hyper?
I
said revolting.
It was a word I'd never heard.
Well, bringing it back, Wrexham actually play Notts County, don't we, on Monday?
Yes.
And that's going to be an absolute cracker.
What's your prediction of that then, Marco?
0-0.
I mean, it will be what? It's like whenever Liverpool played Man U a few years ago, whenever it was hyped as like
that day.
Yeah,
but
I can see Notts County having that attitude, thinking, unless we get a result there, a positive win, we are second. We're going to be a playoff. And
Notts County did win the reverse fixture as well. They might take a bit of belief from that.
Yeah, and they're on a high at the minute. I mean, obviously so Notts County, but I mean, not the thing is Wrexham, they can afford to have an off day, and they've still got enough quality to drag them through.
Well, did I read Macaulay Langster? Is it Macaulay Langster?
Yeah, the Notts County striker.
He's hit 40 goals from open play.
No penalties. That is ridiculous.
I don't know if it's open play, but certainly no penalties. Yes. I mean, that is outrageous, isn't it? To hit 40 goals in a season is hyper something. To do it without having taken a penalty is exceptional.
Unreal.
Yeah. So, I mean, we will of course get on to the statement in due course. The statement from, of course, David Hilton, where he talks about all manner of things. But I'd just like to lighten up the mood a little bit. We do our usual segments. I mean, I think on this podcast, what we want to do is be a little bit of a positive light, really.
Yeah, for sure.
So our next segment then, points up for grabs here. First of all, we've got Hero of the Week, so I'm going to start with you, Marco.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with one that I feel like will be quite popular with Scunny fans. It's the King, Van Veen. 16 in 30 this season, playing in Scotland, which so I remember going to some Scunny games and he was on the bench. Yes. And I was like, come on, man. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He was great, he was brilliant for us under Paul Hurst, but it looks like he's found a really good fit in Motherwell.
Yes.
And I'm so happy.
She's well.
She's great. I knew that. But no, I'm just so happy. Yeah. He's doing great, and his free kick was cracking. I don't know if you all saw it. Yeah. Brilliant goal, and my hero, Van Veen. How could it not be?
Van Veen doing Van Veen things.
Exactly.
Sorry, Von Veen.
Van Veen.
Was it Howder?
Don't even start. Yeah.
Max, over to you then, hero of the week.
I mean, look, let's be clear. The correct answer is Van Veen. Like anything we say now is following the Lord Mayor's show. I would love to have gone, oh well, it was the Scunny player who scored, or it was the Scunny player who played really well, but unfortunately it wasn't. I think most of us know that following the team last Scunny, it's not actually just about football; it's about the social side of it. It's about having a really good time with your friends, which is a good job because for the last 5 years the football's been pretty crap.
This quick fire round is great. It's like so dynamic.
And it gets even better because my hero of the week, I don't actually know his name. Myself and another Scunny fan, Ryan, before the York game, we went out for an absolutely banging Italian. So thank you very much to your people, Marco.
I thought you were talking about me.
Wow. You people. And the service we got in Bella Italia on in the centre of York was absolutely terrific. So yeah,
so on behalf of our people,
we would like to you.
We would like to
cheers, guys.
Thank you.
That's what we do.
No, the lad serving me and Ryan, my hero of the week.
Yeah. Well, do you know, before I come to you guys, do you know my hero of the week is? It's the guys at No Film who happen to sponsor this podcast and have provided an amazing studio.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, gone are the days of the paper cuts and the string and like
wind tunnel.
Wind tunnel.
Yeah. We've had loads of good comments.
Absolutely.
Keep them coming.
And we're in the heart of Scunthorpe as well, on the famous Britannia corner. You might have heard the authentic police sound in the background. And then for a lot of Scunthorpe fans who went down to the old showground, this would be a really sort of big pub and nightclub for them. Yeah. So
and here we are, gracing the great venue. Gareth, over to you then for your hero of the week.
My hero of the week, probably never heard of him. It's called Frank Zuber.
I thought you were going to say Max Bell.
Yeah, Frank Zuber is skiing, Mount Baker, Washington State. Quite a lot of snow, powdery snow, and he goes over a snowboard, and you think, right, so he stops, has a look, goes back, and there's a guy that's fallen head first into a tree well, so where the tree is, there's loads like snow that's in there, and the guy's gone head first into it, they have to dig him out, save his life. So, if you're on Twitter, whatever, have a look at it. Frank Zuber.
That's a really touching story, but the point still goes to Kevin.
Yeah, it's not Kevin. It's not Kevin, is it?
Yeah. Look, he saved a man's life, but I did see Van Veen kick away against, and it was banging.
Exactly.
Idiot of the week then. So yeah.
My idiot.
You get the points, Marco.
I go first.
Yeah.
I'm cruising this week. Yeah, for my idiot of the week, for me, I don't know if anybody watched the Anthony Joshua fight of the weekend. Conor Ben, my God, what are you doing? I mean, Eddie Hearn afterwards has said, what do we expect? He gets a lot of it on TalkSport, and of course he does. He's had fails drugs tests. I mean, he's always in.
Talk to us about what's happened for those that haven't seen it.
I mean, the TalkSport presenter who would have been the one who's been bad mouthing him has done innocently have an interview. Conor Ben's then hit the microphone away from him, pushed him out of the way. And I mean, fair play to the TalkSport presenter because he just took it in his stride. But what an idiot!
I thought you were starting to go there, Mark. I thought we've lost him.
Just an absolute.
That'd get us some views if we had a bit of foxy boxing on here.
Get him
foxy box. Max, you don't help yourself, do you? You really don't.
It was a bingo anthem back in the day.
I know what it.
I think it's still on.
We try and normalise Max as much as we can, and then he comes out with these lines.
Honestly, people say about anti-PC and cancel culture, and honestly, it's here in action with Andy.
Would it ever
left
be?
wingers? Stop it! I still haven't got over it yet.
Me and Cam Wilson, we're always on the left wing.
Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Gareth, idiot of the week.
That'd be me.
You?
Idiot of the week for thinking we'd get something against Torquay, sitting there in the freezing cold, and just thinking, do I leave early? Don't I? Dill left 10 minutes early. So I'm idiot of the week.
Max, over to you. Idiot of the week.
Yeah, I think. I mean, there was quite a few you could have chose from, really. I'm sure you've all seen the news about Chelsea sacking their second manager this season, which was actually something they never did under Abramovich. They never sacked more than one manager in a season. So Todd Bowley's is building new ground in West London. I mean, who knew that spending £600 million on new players, none of whom were a proper striker, couldn't end well? They've sacked Graham Potter. Potter didn't become a bad manager overnight. And he's clearly a clever bloke because he's already turned down Leicester. So yeah, that's it for me. And I hope Chelsea finish in the bottom half, which is where they are right now, because it'd be funny.
Well, I think we've just alienated all the Chelsea fans from this podcast. So with that in mind, I'd like to award the points to Gareth. I feel sorry for you, Gareth. I feel sorry for you all the time, but particularly this week. And then moment of the week. So I'll start with you, Gareth, this time.
Moment of the week is got to be, what was it? Oh, I can't think. Cardiff Swans. I can't think of it.
Wow. That was a really poignant moment, wasn't it?
Yeah. 99th minute winner. Kabanga scoring. Just the limbs in that away end. You're playing your rivals. You score in the 99th minute. I just love to score in any minute for Scunthorpe.
Just a goal.
But yeah, just a goal. But yeah,
just a corner would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, looked amazing.
Yeah, for me, obviously everyone loves Neil Warnock. I don't know many people. Well, will be quite a few people who don't like Neil Warnock. But I, for one, am a massive
They're all
fan.
Wednesday fans.
Yeah, exactly. But I, for one, love him. And obviously Huddersfield we're at home to Middlesbrough, who are on a massive bit of form at the minute, straight into the playoffs. And Huddersfield fighting for their lives, managed to beat them 4-2. And no one saw that come back. Will have let a lot of hackers down, I imagine. Yeah. So for me, moment of the week, just because I didn't have a bet, is Huddersfield beating Borough.
And then over to you then, Max.
Yes, so my moment of the week, and I think moments can be good, bad, and a little bit of both. My moment of the week is the statement from David Hilton. It feels massive. It feels a really huge.
Seismic was the word.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I was just who's getting his dictionary out now? Eh?
He's what? Sorry. Dictionary. Sorry.
Look, time will tell as to whether or not it all transpires. There was bits in it that I liked. There was bits in it that I didn't like. There was bits in it that I understood. There was bits in it that I thought, oh crikey, that makes me concerned, because I don't think any Scunny fan could have paid attention for the last 5 years and not be not have things in their minds that things can go wrong, because we've seen it happen in front of our eyes. I won't go into too much detail because I think we're going to have a proper discussion on it now. But massive moment, massive.
Yeah. I mean, that is the right answer. You get the points, mate. I don't think that's the first time I've awarded you points, but
thank you very much. I'm off. See you later. It's all downhill from
Well, if I knew that's all I needed to do, I'd have done that minute one.
So there was 3 rounds and we all got 1 point each. I mean, you're just basically a communist. That's what it is. We've all won. We've all won. Except for you, Max.
Yeah. You never win. But it does lead us nicely on to our next segment, when we have to review this statement. I haven't got a transcript, but I have kind of like bullet pointed some of the key points, so I'll kick us off. The first thing that David discussed, I'll just take you back actually. We believe that he recorded a statement after the game on Saturday, and it was released on the club website on Sunday morning. And a lot of the kind of the revelations, I think, to a lot of us fans, were the first time we were hearing some of these things. So he kicked off by saying, of course, he's removed himself from social media, which we knew. He put that down to there being too many distractions in a professional decision, which I think we could all understand at the end of the day, presence on social media, it's someone's choice, isn't it? And if he felt like he didn't want to carry on, then no issues with that.
Yeah, I think the point you made about trolls is fundamentally right. We've just had an owner who we know was checking online comments quite regularly.
Yeah.
Took some of those very personally, which some people feel may have possibly affected his decision making.
Yeah.
We don't need to go through that again. Hilton could be stood on Scunny High Street doling out 50 quid notes, and there'd be somebody not liking it. If you're in that kind of position...
Yes, and this is the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're in that kind of position, it's not healthy for anybody, look at it when you've got reactions to big moments, or get your staff at the club to do it, and make sure that you know what fans think. But nobody needs their mentions like that from everybody. It's just not. It's not healthy for the football club. Never mind Hilton personally.
And then he went on to address the unsubstantiated accusations. He went on to say, he understands why some fans will feel nervous, but he asks people to make their opinions basically based on the evidence or lack thereof pertaining to these, allegations. Gareth, a penny for your thoughts on that one.
The allegations?
No, well...
he chucked him under a bus there, didn't he?
David Hilton addressing that,
Well, I think he had to.
He's taken ownership of the situation, hasn't he?
He had to address it. There's people saying all sorts when you read media, Twitter. There's different things happening in his life. He's a busy man reading all this, and I just think that he had to come out and say something just to, just stop the bullshit, basically.
Yeah. And then he did mention his name change, which, as he said before, is down to personal reasons, which understandable,
problems, I mean, my dad changed his name, and I suppose if you shared the same surname as me, you'd probably do the same, wouldn't you? So
change address.
To be fair, he did.
Wow, this has taken a turn. It was one cold Christmas Eve.
He went out for milk.
And then, he kind of talked about him not being a local man and his lifestyle. I thought it was interesting that he mentioned his kids. Why are you laughing?
He's the only man on earth who's got more kids than you, Barry.
And there it is. And then, of course, started to talk about why he decided to buy Scunthorpe. I felt like this was the one area that I'd like to understand a little bit more, to be honest with you. It's really interesting that he mentioned leaving a legacy, setting an example to his children. I think we can all... We've supported Scunthorpe long enough now to know there must be very little money in running a club like Scunthorpe, especially being potentially, as we will be next season, in the 6th tier. So Marco, what did you think of the reasons he gave for wanting to buy the club?
I mean, he's came in ultimately and saved the club, no denying that. But he's also came in off the back of two guys wanting to buy the club who were very heavily invested in Scunthorpe.
Emotionally.
Yeah, we knew they wanted the best for the club. They weren't from outside, we knew they were from Scunthorpe, and they were always going to make whatever decision it took, which was best for the club. Now, because of how we've been ran before, previously, we are all going to be very curious in what is being said, and rightly so, because of what's been dealt. So straight away, before he's even got to a game, we are all very questionable. So he's got that against him straight away. So I can understand why he's explained why he's bought the club.
Yeah.
And I have no problems with that at all.
And, of course, he mentioned there that he passed the fit and proper testing twice. Yeah. He showed proof of funds, which is what you need to purchase a football club. This is why these checks are here in the first place. So, there you go.
I mean, let's be fussy. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. We were not fussy about the club.
Yeah, correct. There wasn't a long list of suitors.
Any single person who passed those tests.
And again, no matter what happens from here, we needed a takeover.
Yeah.
We were going bust.
Yeah.
If we didn't get a different owner from Peter Swan. I mean, we've talked previously about state ownership of football clubs. I mean, frankly, if it was going bust under Peter Swan, I'd have taken the Taliban buying us. So, beggars. We were begging at that point. Beggars can't be choosers, and you just hope that things, even if it's slowly, things rebuild from this point.
Well, then we started to get on to the interesting topics, the topical things. And first of all was the surface at... Well, sorry, I'll come back. First of all was moving the training facilities to Ilkeston in the week, taking the football away. And he referenced the playing surface, the 4Gs, being a reason for that. And I think he did mention the potential of going to Botsford, but he didn't think that it suited the club for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And then went on to mention our current training facilities and there being no drainage. How do you guys feel about us being based football-wise in the week from Ilkeston? Are you comfortable with that?
I mean, this is going to split the fan base in half.
Yeah.
And I can understand both sides. I mean, I can sort of see some points. What it's saying is, down there we'll attract more players. Geographically, it's better. As, like you said, as bad as it sounds, people don't want to live in Scunthorpe. Well, not don't want to live in Scunthorpe, but the calibre of player that we want.
Well, 3 of us thought that.
Yeah. They might not necessarily want to live in Scunthorpe, especially in our championship.
Barrett, if you live in Gaul, sorry. And Gareth lives in Doncaster.
Doncaster lost its sea.
And Marco lives in Selby, which is just where you live, where you can't afford to live in
Tell you
York.
what, this is incredible because we now basically have our addresses publicised. So thanks, Matt. Great one.
So as the one person round the table who does live in Scunthorpe,
what address? Whereabouts?
I moved away for 8 years, but that's not the point. Look, I'm very anti this. There are going to be difficult decisions taken, and
so this is the truth, isn't it?
And look, there's other things in that statement which we will come on to, which I am prepared to
concede.
Yes, and I can understand the logic for them, even if that's not an easy decision. But there isn't really any precedent for this with successful clubs. I don't buy into the argument of it's a necessary move to attract players. You attract players by being a well-run club who are ambitious and are playing at a good level with a good manager, with stable off-field, and by paying decent wages. We didn't need to move to Derbyshire when we were at the top of League One or when we were in the Championship. And on a serious note, I know we joked about where we all live, but Scunny isn't a town that's always got as much going for it as we would all perhaps like. But the one thing that unites literally thousands of people together is the football club, and that connection between the club and the town and the supporters, that's a proper holy trinity, and I don't want us to see us lose that.
But on that note, we haven't lost that because of the likes of David Hilton. So there are concessions that
I think this goes hand in hand. To still have our club, this is something that needs to happen. I really think it is, otherwise it wouldn't be happening. Not when you say we can't attract players. He said in the statement, I think, even in the Championship days, we couldn't attract the type of player that we wanted. So if that's happening when we were a well-run club, in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, we knew we wasn't. But if we can't attract him then, what hope have we got now? And I mean, we're not going to attract a big calibre player.
I still don't think we're going to attract that much of a player anyway.
No, it's going to be the National League North.
No, it's
it's Scunthorpe United though as well. You know what I mean? Look at Scunthorpe United regardless. And it's just dropping.
Yeah.
You're going to want to come in and think, do I want to go there? Or do I want to go to Banbury? Or, I just...
Yeah, I think, as I said, I don't think there's any precedent really for this being done successfully at other clubs, and I think taking it away, I struggle to believe that we couldn't have found at least a passable local training facility whilst redevelopments took place.
Well, that would have been ideal. Then everyone wins. But
and I think that's a real shame. I feel very glad and I'm very relieved that Hilton's bought the club. And as I said, there's other bits in the statement I'm sure we'll come on to soon, which I do have more time for. But I think this is a real shame if it comes to fruition.
Well, just coming on to the next point, and I have to put a disclaimer out to the listeners here because the next topic we're going to discuss is the academy, and as I mentioned last week, my son obviously plays in the academy, so for me this is an emotionally charged subject, so it may be that my opinion on this is somewhat biased, to be honest with you. I am obviously devastated at the announcement that the academy will close. Not just my lad, but lots of boys have trained incredibly hard over many years to get an opportunity to potentially be a professional footballer one day. Now, I will caveat that by saying I understand, first of all, this decision won't have been made lightly, and it's probably due to years of mismanagement that has led us to get into the position we're in now. However, it does not change the fact that I am still so disappointed and really hope that between now and the end of the season we can find the £250,000 that David Hilton said was missing to fund this, because not just now, I know he talked about how many of our decent academy products make their way into the first team, which obviously will be the main indicator for him, because at the end of the day we are a business. But aside from that, on a more emotional and personal level, as you've explained already, Max, this is not necessarily an affluent town that is the land of milk and honey and many opportunities, and to a lot of these boys it is a golden ticket. And again, I don't want to get my violin out, because there are things in this statement that I am prepared to make concessions on, such as Ilkeston. One thing I'm really upset about is obviously the academy, and I had to say that because the other parents that are in the academy, which would expect me to say that, would be very disappointed if I didn't vocalise that. It's quite privileged to have a microphone in front of me, so I thought I'd just get that out of the way. That's my opinion on it. Over to you guys. Max, over to you first.
Yeah,
I counterbalance.
I think it's interesting in that, for all of our many sins, I think this is the last 10 minutes is a really good example of us actually saying what we think.
Yes.
So then I've come out and said I really don't like the move to Ilkeston. I've got concerns about this. Whereas I was significantly less surprised by this. We've seen similar moves with lots of other ex-EFL clubs who've dropped into the non-league. The drop off in funding. How your academy is fully funded to the tune of £500,000 by the EFL as a parachute payment for that first year. That's then cut in half, and then it's cut completely. That Hilton explained that in his statement, and that's right. That's what the regulations are. £250,000 is a lot of money. And look, if in an ideal world, I know some people have talked about the potential for parent funding. I think York run on a sort of a similar kind of...
Yeah, it's Tier 4 Academy, which I believe is subsidised effectively by the parents.
My concern with that would be that £250,000 is a lot of money for parents to step in, and York is it's a bigger city, it's a significantly more affluent area with a bigger catchment area than Scunny. Reluctantly on this one, I think Hilton probably had no choice. I'd have probably made the same decision in his shoes on this one.
I can understand the decision. As I say, I also concede it's probably come from years of the way we've been managed. It still hurts.
Yeah, of course it does.
Marco, over to you.
Yeah, no. Like Max says, I can understand. I feel like his hands are tied here. We haven't had that much fruition with the youth teams at all. I mean, you name a few with Dawson.
There's been quite a few this season.
I mean, Dawson never made an appearance for us.
Joey Dawson,
and we've lost him to Celtic. Do you know what I mean? How's that happening? And I think obviously in the actual statement he said we had two lads, 16-year-olds, who before we even got to the chance where we could offer him a contract, we'd gone to Hull because it was more appealing. So even the good players that we are getting in these academies eventually, we aren't managing to keep holding them, and for not making it to the first team. Obviously, like Barra said, there's so many young lads who, and it's worked for so many years, but I'd be very interested to know, I asked before the podcast, I bet there's not many National League North teams with academies.
No, that's the truth, isn't it? But you only had to kind of see how this one in particular of all the topics was the one that split.
Of course, and it's always good.
And hopefully, particularly with your lads, particularly in football, I'm a big believer that the cream rises to the top. The good lads will get picked up by other academies. Mm-hmm. Grimsby will come sniffing round, Lincoln, Doncaster, Hull, and hopefully that for the lads who do have the real potential for a future in the game, this won't be the end of it.
Well, it's going to be a saturated market, isn't it? Gareth, what was your take on that particular topic?
What, on the academy?
Yes.
Well, I just think it's been said that there's not been many come through it that have progressed into the team. I know Marco said there's been a few this season, but I think that's been more of a necessity. Just try different things. And last season as well, there's a few that played, especially that Bristol Rovers game. But I just think that he's better look at the bigger picture sometimes. I know Oldham are going to be discussing their academy as well, and whether they keep the academy or the B team that they've got. For me to keep the academy, because it's somebody's dream. And that's what it is. It's a dream, but money talks at the end of the day.
And that is the truth. And he did go on to sort of talk about how we would potentially not have an academy, but I've kind of lost it on my notes here, but he mentioned having was it 21 to 23-year-olds picked up from Category 1 academies, those that have been released. And
that struck me as a bit ambitious, I think.
I thought it was ambitious.
Yeah. Look, there's nothing wrong with a bit of ambition, but the majority of them have been released by Category 1 is sort of it's Premier League and elite level Championship.
Is this the JB Ward Academy?
No.
Is it not? Because I assume with him being manager, that would be used. So Jamie Ward's the Eye-to-Eye Academy.
Okay.
With the category ones.
Right.
And obviously with Hilton and Jamie Ward being in contact, I assume we'd maybe use that.
Right.
No, my understanding of it is the sort of category one is Premier League clubs.
It is, yeah.
And that's they pick up. Glenn Hoddle did a similar thing in Spain a few years ago.
He did,
where they pick up released ones.
I just thought we'd maybe use
think,
that.
but and good players do get released from academies. Gary Hooper didn't become a bad player when Tottenham released him when he was 16 or whatever it was. But the chances are that they might get better offers higher up the pyramid than
I think we're getting
National League.
We're getting the dregs of those players. We're not getting
realistically, we might be picking up players who are getting released by Grimsby because at a National League North standard, they might actually be a good player.
Yeah.
So
there's a few other things he mentioned in the statement which don't really tickle my interest, to be honest with you. There was the account filing, which he explained, would be submitted at some point this week. No issues with that. There was the talk of the season tickets, which again doesn't interest.
That is a long-standing thing. I mean, a lot of Scunny fans who are online will follow Kieran Maguire, who was big on a lot of the stuff for certain issues around Peter Swan, like Lincoln, who were significantly higher up the pyramid and years previously better on clubs than us, are having exactly the same problem with credit card providers.
The merchants won't.
And often they don't like going to football clubs or working with football clubs because anybody who's bought anything on a credit card will know that you get extra insurance and they're liable for that. If you go bust, credit card providers were out of pocket when Berry went bust. So I mean that's just I understand why supporters might go, but that's out of our hands.
Well, Hilton did explain, didn't he? What happens is the credit merchants effectively hold the cash and then distribute it back to the club as the season progresses. And as David Hilton quite rightly said on this topic, well, you might as well just buy a ticket as you go if that's what you plan on doing, because it doesn't benefit the club, does it? For the merchant to take a fee basically to hold the cash to then give us it back. More or less concludes the statement. He mentioned, he touched on some of the staff leaving, and one important thing he did mention actually was he said all money put into the club is donations and not loans. Right. So any any anxiety that the fans would have regarding that, I think he probably put to bed.
The only other thing I would discuss would be, and I think Hilton seemed to be still talking about the potential for what that might look like. I've got issues or concerns about how often the club is open and how far it closes down in terms of certain staff potentially relocating to Ilkeston, because that builds on the similar issues in terms of risking the de-linking of the club from the club from the community. And look, there are going to be redundancies this summer because we're going down to the National League North. We're going to be we're competing against clubs who. Someone like Farnsley Celtic or Peterborough Sports almost entirely volunteer run, getting crowds of 400 for home games, and you can't have League 2 staffing levels on that basis. But I don't believe that there's not a business model where we can keep staffing Scunthorpe. It'd be a real shame to see that go, and if it does go, what I want to see is a concrete plan over the next 12 to 18 months for being able to bring those operations back as soon as we're back in the National League.
Well, we have to conclude the kind of podcast. We do have some big news, don't we, Gareth?
Drum roll, please.
We do.
Off on tour.
We have some big news. No, we're not off on tour, and no, my missus isn't pregnant again. We're very fortunate, actually. I'm quite pleased to announce, and I think we all feel quite fortunate that David Hilton has agreed to do a podcast with us this week. He's actually invited us down to Ilkeston, hasn't he, to have a look at the facilities later on this week, and of course, we'll be doing a podcast with him. One thing I will say about this, I've spoke to David, he knows where I sit in terms of the academy, and he's willing to meet with us and have this discussion on camera and being filmed. So I think that says quite a lot, that he's prepared to front the decisions that he's made. He's prepared to wear the consequences. So I think that probably speaks volumes, doesn't it?
And I think it speaks volumes about us as a podcast collectively as well, in that we've gone on here, Lime, and said, well, some of us agree with this, some of us don't agree with this, and then actually on a different issue, some of us flipped, and you know, the future of the club is too important for us not to be afraid to put our hands up in the air and say we don't agree on this. So I'm confident that all of us will be fair and robust on issues both ways.
I think that's what happened with the previous ownership. Almost some people had kind of not been too afraid to speak their mind, and you know, we won't do that, will we?
No,
we have to say what we think. And as I say, we're very, very fortunate, and we're very privileged that David has invited us down to Ilkeston. So, you know, we'll be bringing you hopefully some great content later in the week. But yeah, I think for now that's probably it, guys. A big thank you to my panel. Published author Max. I never mentioned that you're a published author. You certainly never.
See, people accuse me of mentioning it all the time. I don't bring it up, but this mischievous so-and-so, he brings it up all the time.
Would I?
They're available on Amazon, very reasonable price.
So, published author Max Bell. Standing. No, you're sat. To our left is Iron Army, Gareth Holden, and over there is Marco.
Yep.
Just gobby.
Don't get any better, does it?
No, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, we need to start doing this.
I've been Barra. Thank you for listening to the Iron Hour podcast.